Hi, let us continue with our discussions on the internal auditing of ISO 9001. In the previous videos, we talked about the requirements for the auditors. You need to have relevant knowledge. Particularly, you need to be well versed with the ISO 9001, the latest version. You need to have attended relevant training, such as understanding ISO 9001 or internal auditor training. If you have practical experience, that will be added value. And then you need to possess some skills, good communication skills, both written and verbal, as well as having some techniques to do auditing. And then lastly, you need to have good personal attribute, particularly the professionalism and integrity. Now, in these videos, we're going to talk about the methods of ISO 9001 auditing, which can be categorized into four methods. Normally, in the auditing exercise, we will try to diversify the use of the method. Instead of fully focusing on one method, there may be limitations and gaps. Therefore, it is recommended that you use different methods to complement each other. The first one is review of documentations and record. I guess this is the most important method for us to quickly understand the process, and it is also the most reliable methods of acquiring the evidence. So what kind of documents that we are referring to? Normally we refer to their policies, guidelines, SOP, forms, meeting minutes, circulations, and etc. So where are the areas that we are reviewing? We refer to the SOP, knowing the sequence, and then we trace the documents, such as forms, records, in order to identify whether the SOP is being followed. Normally in the SOP, it does not only specify the steps, there are also sequence and also who is responsible, and then what kinds of documents to be referred, such as forms and guidelines. Now you need to check those forms, whether it is outdated. Are they using the latest form? Are those forms being signed? The dates are important. You make sure all the forms that require signatures are to be signed and with the dates clearly stated. This is particularly important, especially in some SOP that specify the time frame. For example, certain process needs to be completed within 14 days. Then you look into the document, do some random check whether they complete it within the time frame. In the case that the time frame is not fulfilled, meaning that their presence of not being able to conform to the SOP. Now you want to know whether this non-conformance is actually a trend within the department or it is just a standalone case. Then you need to do some random check also to confirm that. And then when you review the SOP, most of the auditor will look into the clarity and ambiguities, whether the abbreviations are properly defined, whether the process in the flowchart align with what is stated in the sequence, whether there are any errors, such as grammatical errors, and so on so far. Within the SOP also state the document retention period, sometimes 3 years, sometimes 5 years, sometimes 7 years, depending on what is stipulated in the SOP. So you should also check the historical record, whether this retention period is fulfilled. Not only that, you must have a mindset that you are evaluating is not just SOP. Your focus is the process. SOP document the process. While you're evaluating the SOP, what you are actually doing is you are evaluating the process. By having these right positions, you will not give the auditees a wrong impression that auditors only look into terminologies. And then another thing here is, due to the complexity of the operations within the department, sometimes there are multiples of SOP. And SOP and SOP, sometimes they are interrelated. Especially this interrelated SOP, you might need to pay attention because changes or revisions to one of the SOP may affect the other. And very often then we observe those changes sometimes being forgotten to be updated in the other SOP, leading to slight discrepancy between SOPs. For example, the initial setup is that you require 5 quotations for a procurement, and then along the way, the department decided that beyond which amount of procurement cost, you need 5 quotations. However, less than certain amount, you need only 3 quotations. Now, such revisions, if made at the procurement SOP, later in the other SOP, for example, registering the asset, requiring keeping those records in terms of the purchase requisitions as well as the quotations. Now, these numbers of quotations, the department may have forgotten to update. As a result, when you review the asset registrations SOP, you realize that there is discrepancy in the record and the SOPs. While the SOP requires for 5 quotations, but what you see in the record, there is only 3 quotations. This is something that you might need to pick up because the department may have accidentally overlooked that. So this is the role of the auditors. And then the risk assessment. This risk assessment is newly introduced in the latest ISO 9001-2015 due to the evolutions over the emphasis addressing the gap that they identify in terms of the implementations of the ISO. Now, yearly, the department should have at least one risk assessment, as circumstances may change over time. Normally, there is a standard risk assessment form evaluating the current practice, quantifying the risk. Now, in the case of high risk, there should be proposed mitigations in order to minimize and control the risk. And then we evaluate the outcome of the proposed mitigations. Now, very often that due to lacking of awareness of general public about risk assessment, this risk assessment normally end up just the paperwork. Now, you know that the principles of ISO, it is not just documentations. When you review this risk assessment, you are not reviewing the document. You are actually reviewing the practice. Therefore, when you look into the risk assessment, whatever was proposed being mitigated, theoretically should have been implemented, at least demonstrate their commitments in order to contain the risk. These are some examples of reviewing the documents and records.